In 1522, a single, battered ship limped into the harbor of Seville, Spain. Its sails were shredded, its hull was scarred, and its crew was a mere handful of starving men. This vessel, the Victoria, had left nearly 3 years earlier as part of a grand fleet. Now, it returned alone, carrying a story almost too incredible to believe. But aboard that broken ship was proof of one of humanity's greatest triumphs, the first circumnavigation of the Earth. And at its helm was a man history almost forgot, Juan Sebastián Elcano, the quiet mariner who became the first human to complete a continuous voyage around the entire planet. While Ferdinand Magellan's name echoed through the ages, it was Elcano who finished the impossible journey Magellan had started but never lived to complete. This is the story of the first circumnavigator of the world, the man who turned a doomed adventure into a legend. Juan Sebastián Elcano was born around 1486 in Guetaria, a small fishing village on Spain's rugged northern coast. The sea was his first and greatest teacher. The powerful waves of the Cantabrian coast taught young Elcano the essential skills of survival, sailing, navigation, and a profound respect for the ocean's unpredictability. He grew into a seasoned sailor, working on merchant ships, fighting in naval conflicts, and learning to read the winds and stars with rare precision. He was a man of the sea, through and through. His destiny arrived with a bold announcement from the Spanish crown. A daring expedition would attempt to reach the Spice Islands by sailing west, across the Atlantic, and into the unknown. The man chosen to lead this unprecedented mission was Ferdinand Magellan, a brilliant Portuguese navigator serving Spain. Elcano joined the expedition not as a commander, but as just one sailor among many. He wasn't chosen for glory or leadership, but as he boarded one of the ships, he was unaware that the course of his life and world history was about to change forever. On September 20th, 1519, 5 ships stranded: San Antonio, Concepcion, Santiago, and Victoria set sail from Seville with more than 260 men. Elcano served aboard the Concepcion. From the start, tension simmered between the Spanish officers and their Portuguese commander. Magellan was a genius, but he was also demanding and trusted few. The Spanish officers resented his authority, and the sailors were exhausted before they had even left the Atlantic. The fleet crossed the ocean and began a grueling search along the coast of South America for a passage to the rumored Southern Ocean. Storms battered the ships, supplies dwindled, and the relentless cold gnawed at the men. Discontent spread like a sickness, and then, at the edge of the known world, it exploded. During the harsh winter of 1520, the fleet anchored in a desolate bay called Port St. Julian. The conditions were miserable: freezing winds, gnawing hunger, and growing anger at Magellan's leadership. Unable to bear it any longer, several Spanish captains launched a mutiny. Elcano, while not a leader of the rebellion, sided with them, a decision that nearly cost him his life. Magellan's response was swift and merciless. The mutiny was crushed with brutal force. One captain was executed. Another was marooned on the desolate coast. Elcano was spared but remained under a cloud of suspicion. Despite the bloody turmoil, Magellan was determined to press on. Chastened but alive, Elcano continued the journey, now more dangerous than ever. Months later, in October 1520, the expedition finally found what it had been searching for: a narrow, twisting channel cutting through the southern tip of South America. It was the gateway to a vast ocean no European had ever sailed. It was the Strait of Magellan. Navigating it was a nightmare. For 38 days, the fleet battled unpredictable currents and hidden rocks. Then, disaster struck again. The ship San Antonio deserted, turning back to Spain and taking a huge portion of their supplies with it. The remaining vessels, depleted but not broken, finally emerged from the strait into a new, calm ocean. Magellan named it the Pacific. But what awaited them was not peace. It was the longest, most deadly sea crossing in recorded history. The Pacific Ocean was far larger than anyone could have imagined. For 3 agonizing months, the ship sailed without a single sight of land. The food ran out. The men ate sawdust, leather, and the rats that infested the ships. Starvation and scurvy ravaged the crew. Men died with horrifying regularity. Elcano watched as hardened sailors crumbled, their gums blackening and their bodies wasting away. Yet, driven by pure desperation, the ships pushed forward, clinging to Magellan's belief that the Spice Islands were just over the horizon. Finally, in March 1521, the survivors reached the Philippines. They had crossed an endless ocean. Relief washed over them, but their suffering was far from over. Soon after arriving, Magellan became entangled in a local conflict. Underestimating the risk, he agreed to support one chieftain in a battle against another. On April 27, 1521, on the island of Mactan, Magellan and his small force were over. He was struck down in the fighting killed thousands of miles from home, his mission incomplete. With his death, the expedition descended into chaos. More officers were ambushed and killed. The remaining crew was scattered, leaderless, and terrified. Through it all, Elcano endured. He watched leader after leader fall, surviving not by rank, but by pure instinct and experience. The expedition was on the brink of collapse, and it desperately needed a new commander. By late 1521, only 2 ships remained: Trinidad and Victoria. The surviving officers gathered to decide their fate. They needed someone level-headed, loyal, and skilled enough to navigate them home through hostile waters. They chose Juan Sebastián Elcano to command the Victoria. His task was monumental: get the precious cargo of spices back to Spain without being captured by the Portuguese, who controlled the eastern sea routes. Elcano knew that returning the way they came was a death sentence. He made a bold, almost suicidal decision. He would sail west, across the Indian Ocean, around Africa, then back to Spanish route. No Spanish ship had ever attempted. The return journey was an epic of human endurance. The Indian Ocean threw relentless storms at the tiny Victoria. Supplies vanished. The ship itself was ruined. Sickness once again swept through the crew. And all the while, Portuguese ships were hunting them. If caught, the entire 3-year voyage would be for nothing. But Elcano's brilliance as a navigator shone through. He skillfully evaded enemy patrols, guided the battered ship around the treacherous Cape of Good Hope, and navigated up the coast of Africa. The crew, now reduced to just 18 Europeans and 4 Asian sailors, was pushed beyond the limits of exhaustion. Many could barely stand. But they refused to give up. After nearly 3 years at sea, the Victoria finally approached the coast of Spain. On September 6, 1522, the lone ship sailed into Seville. Crowds gathered, first in celebration. Tenin Sog. 5 ships and over 260 men had left. 1 ship and 80 survivors had returned, but they brought with them something extraordinary: the undeniable proof that the world was round. Elcano was hailed as a hero. The king awarded him a coat of arms with a globe and the Latin words, "Primus circumdedisti me," you were the first to circumnavigate me. The world itself was speaking to him. He had achieved the impossible. Yet, as history was written, Magellan's fame often overshadowed Elcano's achievement. Many remember the man who started the journey, not the one who finished it. But the truth is simple. Magellan dreamed of circling the earth. Elcano actually did it. Elcano would later join another expedition to the Pacific, where he died at sea in 1526. Though he didn't live long after his great triumph, his legacy is profound.